GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. Navigating the insidious illness of Alzheimer's is something nobody asks for. The disease sneaks up on you and your loved one, and it feels like you've been sucker punched in the gut. Then you ask, where do we turn for help? Who do we call? What do we do? These questions and more are what we hope to answer and give you some direction and hope. Now let's join our host, Jeff Edwards.
Greetings and welcome. This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, episode 45. Hope you all had a good week. Hello, March. I guess we'll have to wait and see if the Groundhog was right this year. I went to an interesting seminar last week about Alzheimer's and dementia and met a couple of doctors who are both authors, and they provided a ton of information. And we hope to be bringing them to you in future weeks to share their knowledge. I'm taking a cognitive test this week because of the seminar. When we get to a certain age, 50 and up, we really should start paying attention to this issue. Wait, what issue? Oh, yeah, memory issues. Oh, I'll let you know how I do, if I remember. I know, fooling around a little bit, but it's very important that you do it. Today we'll be looking at an article about Alzheimer's in mothers means higher inheritance risk. And we'll be talking to the owner of Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, an award-winning home care company. They have set the bar pretty high, focusing on dementia and Parkinson's with their certified trainers. Okay, Gut Punch. Alzheimer's and caregiver rules we follow are: 1, you have to take care of yourself because if something happens to you, who is going to take care of your loved one? 2, you can't do it alone. You need help. Find good caregiver groups or network with friends or relatives. And number 3, make a list of people, friends, relatives, co-workers who have offered to help you in time of need, and then make a list of things you need done but can't do yourself because caregiving duties are overwhelming. Use the lists, start at the top, and keep going till you get what you need done. You'll find it very helpful. You ready? And here is another interesting article. Alzheimer's in mother means higher inheritance risk. This is written by Ernie Mundell, June 17th, Monday, 2024. It's a little older, it's about a year old, but genetics can play a role in a person's odds for Alzheimer's disease, and new research suggests differences in that risk are based on which parent had the illness. In a study of 4,400 people still cognitively unimpaired, there was a higher buildup of amyloid protein plaques in the brain, and that's a hallmark of Alzheimer's. If either the person's mother or both parents had Alzheimer's compared to folks where Alzheimer's had only struck the father. People with Alzheimer's affected mother may therefore be at a special risk, said a team from Mass General Brigham in Boston. Quote, maternal inheritance of Alzheimer's disease may be an important factor in identifying asymptomatic individuals for ongoing and future prevention trials, said study co-author Dr. Risa Sperling, a neurologist at Mass General. Now, these findings were published June 17th in the journal JAMA Neurology. The study was based on data from a clinical trial focused on Alzheimer's prevention. People in the study were asked about whether or not either of their parents had ever been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and when their parents' memory began to fail. Sperling and colleagues then compared those answers to levels of amyloid in people's brains. Having a father who developed Alzheimer's symptoms relatively late in life did not seem to be related to levels of amyloid in people's brains, the research showed. However, there was a correlation between the accumulation of brain plaques and having had a mother whose Alzheimer's symptoms began at any age or having a father whose symptoms began relatively early, the team reported. Here's a quote. If your father had early onset symptoms that is associated with elevated amyloid levels in the offspring, said study first author Dr. Mabel Cito, a postdoctoral research fellow in the hospital's Department of Neurology. However, it doesn't matter when your mother started developing symptoms, if she did at all, it's associated with elevated amyloid. The sex of the study participant did not seem to matter when it came to the relationship between amyloid buildup and parental histories, the researchers noted. Quote, it's also important to note a majority of these participants are non-Hispanic white, Cito added in the Brigham news release. We might not see the same effect in other races or ethnicities.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
In the fight against Alzheimer's, now matters more than ever. Because now we have treatments that could change everything. But now is no time to stop. Now we've got momentum, so now we use it. Now we seize the moment. Now we turn the tide. Now we make a difference and make some noise. Now is the time to get up, get out, and join the movement. At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, held in over 600 communities nationwide. And we need you with us. Because now is the time for hope. Join the fight at alz.org/walk.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
I was made aware of our guest through an advertising agency I worked with for many years. The name of the business is Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care. Now, I visited their office about 2 weeks ago. I spent some time with the owner, Ralph Lawton, and met almost all of his staff. I was quite impressed with their attitude and work ethic. The culture in the company was very, very positive. And we'll hear more about that as we speak with Ralph. Greetings, Ralph. How you doing today?
Doing well.
Great. You and I have spoken twice now, and you have a very interesting story. Can you share your background?
Sure, Jeff. Originally from New Jersey, moved down to Florida back in around 1990. Went to UM Law School, became a lawyer, practiced as a lawyer for a little bit. Didn't really like to practice too much. I really am more of a people person where, practicing law in the office a whole lot. So I answered a job ad that I thought could take advantage of my legal background, and it wound up being with a large national legal recruiting firm in Miami. I'm in Miami now. Got that job. I opened up their Miami office. Eventually, I left after 2 years and then worked 2 years with another large legal recruitment firm and eventually became a regional vice president of Florida. And so I liked that opportunity because I was able to travel twice a week throughout Florida to the various offices in Florida. And I really got to know some of the major metro areas. Like I had an office in Jacksonville and Tampa. We worked in Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And I learned in that business, we did direct placements. So we would place lawyers or paralegals in law firms for a fee, but we also did temporary work. So paralegals, contract lawyers who would work on temporary assignments with law firms and corporate legal departments. That was important for me in this role because it's a similar situation as a home care owner. We work with employees, caregivers who, work in the field in people's homes. And so it was a bit similar. At any rate, my wife, who became the chief information officer of a company in Sydney, Australia, mind you, we were living in Pembroke Pines, Florida, but it was a Sydney, Australia job for a gentleman who she worked for in Boca. We did decide in 2006 to move over for that. Pearl was chief information officer for that company, and I became a country manager for a legal recruitment firm called Dolman Legal Recruiters in Sydney, Australia. That was interesting, too, because they did placements of Commonwealth lawyers, so basically lawyers who are familiar with English Commonwealth law, and they placed them all over the world. I had an opportunity to travel to London in that role and meet with the top 5 law firms in London. We did placements in Hong Kong, Warsaw, Vietnam, Tokyo, and of course in Australia and in New Zealand. And when we came back in 2012, I was looking for the next part of my life, for my career. What was I going to do? Healthcare was an attraction, and my wife and I talked about it, and we decided we thought that getting into home care would be a good opportunity, and it was something that we had gained familiarity with because Pearl's dad, while we were in Australia, he lived in Lehigh, Florida, and he needed home care, and that was an introduction for Pearl and for me to what home care was like, and the good aspects of home care, and then the concerns about, say, the quality, things like that we came to learn over time. That's what we did when we came back, Jeff. We decided to get into home care industry, and that really transpired for us after 3 years. We came in 2012. In 2015, we got licensed as Heart, Body, Mind Home Care here in Fort Myers.
Now, there are a lot of companies doing what you're doing, the home care service. It's pretty competitive. In your opinion, what makes you different from all the rest?
I would say that it probably does start with the culture. And maybe I'll back that up by just saying that Pearl and I have had 2 lifetimes of working in corporate 500 organizations. And what we really got out of that is we developed good processes, good business processes. Not just processes, but an understanding of cultures of organizations that we like and aspects of those cultures that we don't like. So when we started Heart, Body, Mind Home Care, we knew that we wanted to have an office and a staff and a team who were friendly, supportive, no A personalities, who could work together collaboratively. So we gave a lot of thought to the supportive culture that we wanted to create in the organization. So I would say is very helpful for us is the culture that we created here in the organization. The other thing that differentiates us as a practical matter would be, for example, our positioning. We develop specializations.
Explain that.
There's a lot of home care agencies out there.
Right.
People might believe that they are all the same. They're not so different, very fungible, like, toothpaste at the supermarket. They all essentially do the same thing. We knew we needed to be different. One of the important things we focused on was exceptionalism, being excellent. If we're going to do something, we wanted to do it very well. It was our personal reputations. The next thing was professionalism. Well, we grew up in that corporate 500 environment. We respected the importance of being professionals, having standards, having professional ethical standards, meeting certain criteria of professionalism. So we wanted to represent that ourselves and instill that into the folks who worked with us. And another thing was integrity. We're big on integrity. We're big on, again, being ethical, doing what you say you're going to do, being responsible if you make a mistake. It's okay. We're a safe-to-fail environment here. We're a safe-to-fail environment. We have an open door. People are going to make mistakes, but own up to it. Don't blame others. Learn from them. Move forward. That's for us about integrity. Do what you say you're going to do, and don't misrepresent yourself internally or to the community. So those are, I would say, our core values: exceptionalism, service excellence, professionalism, and integrity. I'd say, Jeff, beyond that, what is important, I think, for our clients and the families is we went to differentiate ourselves. We are specialists in Alzheimer's and dementia. We are specialists in Parkinson's care. And because we train our caregivers extensively to provide care for folks who have brain change or Parkinson's, we also work or focus on complex cases. So those 3 areas of specialization, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's care, complex cases, require a lot of focus on our part, training of caregivers, oversight, field supervision, and over time, we've become pretty good at it.
Well, it sounds like it. Now, you talk about culture. I had the chance to meet some of your employees and was very impressed with their attitude and work ethic. They all seem committed to the cause. How did you approach that with your employees? How did you get them to buy into it?
Very good question. I read a lot about culture over the course of the past few years, and Pearl and I had conversations about it, realized that to create a culture, you have to be intentional about it. It can't just happen because you want it. You have to every day think about what kind of culture you want to have in an organization. First of all, communicate it and do things that support that type of culture. And I think it starts with the leadership. leadership. We created 3 core values for Heart, Body, Mind Home Care. And we express those values to everyone who interviews and is hired by the agency. And so one of the core values, as I said, was service excellence, professionalism, and integrity. And so that's the guiding light for us. The next thing I would say is, as leaders, Pearl and I both know that we have a responsibility to lift up the people who work with us, to support them in what they do in the organization, to help them develop as professionals, get good at what they do, give them career ladders, help them create visions of themselves in the future as professionals and leaders, and to develop them to perform at a higher level. We just honestly take an interest in all of the employees who work with us and even in their life. We are proud that we have so far helped 3 employees who work with us buy their first house. And there is one more employee who later this year will own her first house.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for Pearl and me because we're on that journey with them. We know how much money do they need to make to qualify for the mortgage. There was 2 situations where people needed to clean up their credit, but we were giving advice, and that happened, and that young lady bought a house. Yeah. Those are great stories because we believe home ownership is a path to wealth creation. Some of these folk, even their parents didn't own a house. Pearl and I feel as though through Heart, Body, Mind Home Care, we can help a lot of people, but it's a vehicle for us, including the staff. Like I said, not just homeowners, helping them create a vision for themselves where they can be perhaps have professional careers that they would not have envisioned prior to coming to Heart, Body, Mind Home Care, guiding them, teaching them, mentoring them, supporting them, counseling them, lifting them up. We do that all the time, and I have to say, credit to Pearl, she spearheads that. I think that is the part of the culture of Heart, Body, and Mind, and what has happened over time is that folks like that become loyal. We share our vision. We talk about it. It's not just Pearl and me to say, hey, we want to be the best. We've won every national award in the United States 2 years in a row. We do want to be the best. But it's also communicating the vision, empowering the folks who work with us, and hopefully having them share that vision. And I would say we stand on their shoulders because you're referring to how the office was when you came in here. I can tell you, these folks share the vision. They all care about how the service that we provide, it affects them if there's a service failure. And they all do whatever they can to either A, prevent that, B, fix something if something wasn't working. And we have a really good team as a result.
And you have something it's rare. Let's put it that way. It's rare that as owners of a company, you follow a direction and your employees embrace, and it's all for positive, exceptional direction to go. With all the other unique specialties you've got, you guys won the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners Care Training, which was the first in the country. What's that about?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. You had asked how we are different. I'm going to answer your question. A couple of years ago, maybe it was in 2022, we looked at the landscape of home care agencies in Southwest Florida, and we said, look, we need to be different, and that's why we focus on Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's care, complex conditions. But we said in order to do that, we had to walk the talk. How are we going to be better at that? We spent the end of 2022, all of 2023, all of 2024, going across the country, getting certified in some of the top training available in Alzheimer's and dementia, as well as Parkinson's. Back in 2023, we contacted the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners. 10 of us, everybody in the office, enrolled in their certified dementia training, and we all became certified dementia practitioners. But then after that, we said, well, it's not enough to just get that certification. We need to get to a level of having the capacity to do that training. And so two people, Sandy in our Port Charlotte office, Tara, our RN in Fort Myers, through the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners, enrolled in a program and became trainers for them. So they're national trainers. And anybody now that they train, they can certify, just like we got certified through the organization. So we did that. And then we said, we need more. That wasn't enough. We wanted to be able to provide some real hands-on skills training for caregivers when they're in the home. Caregivers work by themselves when they're in people's homes. There's no organization around them. They have to have the skills and ability to provide appropriate care for the client without much support. And so they really do require a lot of training and coaching. There is an organization called Positive Care Approach. The founder is Teepa Snow. Teepa Snow is a dementia care international dementia care specialist. She's out of North Carolina, occupational therapist by trade. She's been doing this since 2007. She teaches dementia care to folks who work within the senior living community and, others like us. Well, we spent 2 years traveling to North Carolina, being trained by Teepa Snow and her folks there, and earning certifications, certified consultant, certified coach, certified champion teacher. Those trainings enable us to actually do the trainings that Positive Care Approach does. We can do them here in Southwest Florida or anywhere, and then we can provide Positive Care Approach certifications to our caregivers as well as employees of senior living communities. We actually have done that, but we actually have done trainings for staff in certain senior living communities in Southwest Florida. Having that ability to train at the highest level in-house, that really gives us not just an advantage, but it helps us hire and retain caregivers.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Greg met his mother at their weekly dinner spot. She was about 15 minutes late because she took a wrong turn. They chatted through the meal, and she mentioned that she stopped playing cards with her friends. After eating, she excused herself and asked directions to the ladies' room. Greg missed 3 warning signs of Alzheimer's. Did you? Know where Alzheimer's and all dementia hide. Learn more at alz.org/10 signs. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Hope you enjoyed our talk with Ralph. Next episode, we'll have part 2 of our interview with Ralph Lawton of Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care. And coming soon, we're going to share the Intermezzo Choir. We'll have an interview with the leader of the choir, and we'll get a chance to hear some clips from a rehearsal I attended just a couple of weeks ago. It was a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure it'll make you smile. If you know someone who has a family member or friends who are dealing with a loved one who has Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, please share this podcast with them as we grow it to reach more caregivers and provide them with hope and direction. We would appreciate that very much. For more information, you can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at alzsupport.org/about-us. And to find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, visit alz.org/local resources/find your local chapter. Or you can call their 24/7 helpline at 1-800-272-3900. That's 1-800-272-3900. The Dubin Center can be found at dubincenter.com. Dr. Perry's HealthSpan Partners website is https://healthspansouthwestflorida.com. And for more information on the guide, it's probably easier to just Google it, Edge it, or DuckDuckGo it. If there's a topic you would like to hear more about, let us know. The website is gutpunched.com, and the email address is gutpunchedac@outlook.com. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again. Help us grow and spread the information and resources by hitting the subscribe button. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch, our email is gutpunchedac at outlook.com.